Good morning. My name is Sarah Gergel, and I work on the Living Archives Project, where we are collecting stories of how COVID-19 impacted various communities in Charlotte-Mecklenburg County. Today is November 1st, 2022, and this week there were 103 reported cases of COVID, which is a 16% decrease over the last 2 weeks. Therefore, each subject is comfortable not wearing a mask. Will you ladies introduce yourself? Dr. Chisholm, would you start?
Yes, I am Dr. Sonja Chisholm. I am the founder and executive director of Gracious Hands Transitional Housing for Homeless Women and Children.
Awesome, thank you so much. And would you introduce yourself, Sunshine?
My name is Roshandra, aka Sunshine, and I'm here. Hi, everybody.
Well, we're so thankful to have you both with us today just to talk about your experience. I would love maybe to take a moment before we started the interview. We did a hand map together. Would you ladies just kind of look at your hand map, and is there anything that sticks out that you would like to share with us?
Well, I wrote that I am love. I am love. I'm a mother to many. I'm a child of God. I'm a great leader, and I'm loyal.
Those are wonderful characteristics.
Thank you.
I love that. Would you like to say anything?
Okay, well, I wrote that I am loving, I am honest, I operate in integrity, I am a safe space, and I'm an educator.
I love that. Ladies, would you be able to kind of share just a little bit about who you are? I know, Dr. Chisholm, you founded Gracious Hands. Would you just share with us a little bit about what is Gracious Hands and talk us through that?
Okay, well, Gracious Hands was merely founded because I was a single mom of 3. And I oftentimes, found myself wondering how I was gonna make ends meet. Sometimes you rob Peter to pay Paul, and sometimes I go to Paul, and Paul didn't have it either. So it was always put on my heart that one day that this would be something that I started. But initially it was, when I hit the lottery. Everybody has this thing that they're gonna do when they hit the lottery. And God said to me one day when I was at my desk, he said, when I gave you the vision, that was the lottery. Now I need for you to move. I didn't know how we were going to do it. I didn't question how. I just knew that he told me to do it. So I went home and told my husband, hey, God said it's time for me to open up this shelter. I wasn't even calling it a transitional home at the time.
Okay.
And he said, well, you better do what God says. And Gracious Hands was birthed. I just knew that it needed to be a place created in Mecklenburg County that could be a safe space so that women could heal. Because oftentimes when you become a parent, and especially African Americans as women, when we become parents at such a young age, we forget how to dream. We forget who we are. And I wanted to create a space where it's that they can find out, remember who they are, why they are working on the things that society say that you need to be whole. But it's not until I know that they can become whole as a person that they can be able to be sustainable in this thing called life.
Wow, that's so beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
When did you open Gracious Hands?
Gracious Hands was birthed in 2012. However, I didn't open my doors to 2015
Okay.
because I wanted to make sure that I had all of my paperwork in line. People kept saying, well, you can open. I was like, nah, I'm just going to wait on the paperwork. I opened up February 2015, and I promise you the house was full within 30 days.
Wow.
That's when I really knew how dire homelessness is for the women in Charlotte-Mecklenburg.
I can't imagine.
Yes.
How many beds do you have here?
Well, here, what is it, 10? I forgot, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it's 10 beds here.
Okay.
It's 10 beds in this house, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 beds in the second house.
Wow. So you have 2 locations.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
that's amazing.
Yes.
And how was that like for you? Did you notice that when the pandemic kind of hit us in 2020, did you notice that there was an even greater need?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It was a greater need because people were losing their jobs left and right. we were already in a mess as far as homelessness in Mecklenburg County. However, it doubled. It really did. The phone was ringing off the hook, and people were like, "Well, what are you going to do?" Because you may take the risk of getting sick. And I was like, well, I don't get to shut down Gracious Hands because there's a pandemic. What will the women and children do? What would they do? Yeah, I mean, this is not the time to be thinking just solely upon myself. The same God that has taken care of me all this time would take care of me now. So I made sure that the door stayed open. We could not allow the pandemic to stop what it is that had been asked of us. Now, we did close on the second property in February of 2020, and I did not open up those doors until July of 2020. So it really just gave me enough time to figure this thing out. I mean, it was new. It was really new. And, with the schools shutting down, I was like, oh my God, now I have to become the teacher. I have to become the cook. It was a lot going on. We had to figure out how were the children still going to become educated. So we started doing everything from right here. I ended up partnering with Sugar Creek Charter. Because I was like, okay, how am I going to cook meals for these kids while these parents still go to work? And it worked out. It was so smooth. They was like, oh, well, you partner with us. We give you breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Stop.
No lie.
Wow.
It was more food to the point that we would have to find other organizations to come and get this food because it was so much. But that's the way we did it. I became a little bit more than I had signed up for initially, but it worked out. It worked out.
Wow. How long were you homeschooling all the kids at that point?
Until I could find volunteers that weren't afraid to come in because of COVID.
Yeah.
So when we actually started initiating that, they have to be vaccinated.
Okay.
Of course, we didn't force it. We didn't force anybody to do it, but we were saying, hey, we have to all take care of each other. So once we started getting people vaccinated, we had more people that were more willing to come in to help. So that did relieve me of those duties, and I was glad. I was really
imagine.
Glad. Yeah.
If you can remember, around how many kids were you homeschooling at that point?
I'm gonna say it was 6. It was 6.
Wow.
Yeah. But the beauty of it was a lot of teenagers.
Okay.
So that did help.
Yes.
The teenagers were able to help us with the smaller kids.
Yes.
So
that's great.
That was I don't think it would have been as smooth if we had a bunch of little ones. I don't think I'm almost for certain it wouldn't have been that smooth.
I bet.
Yeah.
I bet. And how long did Sugar Creek Charter School kind of provide meals?
Oh, until we stopped. I mean, I finally said, because the kids kept saying, well, Miss Sonja, children are something else. They're brutally honest.
They are.
They are so brutally honest. And I mean, you have to respect it. It was like, Miss Sonja, we really don't want that food anymore.
They're like, enough is enough.
So what do you mean you don't want this food? But it was repetitious, so I get it. But they did it it was months. It was months. It was really amazing. Yeah, it was. It was amazing.
Your sacrifice and just your willingness to step in and fill that need is incredible, Dr. Chisholm.
Oh, thank you so much. But we couldn't, I was like, hey, I told my team before we opened up the second house, I was like, listen, yes, we are in the middle of a pandemic. No, we don't have all the answers. But one thing I understand about this thing called life, I don't have to know all the answers.
Yeah.
I have to be willing to do what is asked of me. So I told them, I said, we're going to open up the second house and we're going to let it be what it be.
Yeah.
But the women and children will not be homeless merely because we're in the middle of a pandemic and we have a whole house sitting here. That's just not what we're going to do. We had a meeting. Everybody was on the same page and we filled the house.
Amazing.
We took people in off the streets. Like that's what it's here for.
Yes. Wow. Were there any stories or experiences that really stood out to you during that time?
No more than they do now.
Mm-hmm.
You just really hate it. You hate it, period, that someone is calling and saying I'm sleeping in the car. But I'm saying in the middle of a pandemic, we can't open up some buildings. Like, we know this is happening. So not anymore. I mean, because this is what I do every day. So the pandemic, I mean, did it hinder us? But not to the degree that it's anything that I haven't seen already, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Do you find that now after, it's been a few months since restrictions were lifted and now people are saying COVID is more like a common cold versus an intense virus. Do you feel like that has impacted Gracious Hands? Or do you feel like you've kind of gone back to normal rhythm?
Well, there's no such thing as normal.
I bet.
We life as we've known it would never be. And it's not, and that's what I oftentimes tell people. Now it's time for us to educate ourselves because I don't believe that COVID is ever going anywhere. So we have to continue to educate ourselves as well as those that we are willing to help. So no, I don't think that COVID hindered us. We actually learned a lot.
Wow.
We actually, what I've found with the women that we have housed since COVID, not that we haven't always been family oriented, but people tend to gravitate to each other a little bit more. People seem to be a little bit more caring. I think COVID scared a lot of people because we don't know. We're living in a life of unknown right now. And people oftentimes get weary when they don't know. And it's not until they understand, you don't have to know. You don't have to know. Just walk in love. Know that COVID is here. We're going to take precautions, but we're going to continue to live this life as best as we can with COVID and all. Because God has the last say so of anything.
I love it. Such truth spoken. Sunshine, can you tell us a little bit about what was your experience with COVID like?
When COVID first started, I was actually in California.
Okay.
I did well. I didn't miss a beat. I was taking care of the entire time of COVID. I restructured my youth program to do it at home as to where I used to do it inside of a building. It was in my garage. I turned my garage into a school.
Wow.
I turned my garage into, one side was a school, one side was a salon, and I would only take certain people that I knew was safe. So we ran the camp until the second year of COVID is when I ended up getting COVID. And it wasn't from any of the students or anything. It could have been the grocery store, or I'm sure that I encountered COVID multiple times, but it just so happened that I got it this time. And it kind of took me out for a while, for months, in fact. And then when COVID stopped, I didn't stop. And so the things that were going on with my body when, after I had COVID, they began to affect me in a way to where I had to start calming myself down and calming down the amount of work that I do because I was doing a lot.
Yeah.
So for me, COVID redirected my life to start taking care of myself. I've taken care of a lot of people, but during the time of COVID, I realized that it was me that I needed to be taken care of. So although COVID took a lot of lives, it, in a sense, gave me life. And even with COVID, I began to do my own studies on myself with what COVID was trying to do to me and how it moved and how it was doing to my body, and a lot of that had to do with how we care for ourselves daily. And so just trying to keep my immune system up to par. I didn't have it just once. It happened again and again. I had it 3 times, back to back, less than a year.
Wow.
And I have some breathing issues. I've developed asthma. However, I'm still here, and I take different precautions now. I always wore my mask and everything. People would be like, take the mask off, we're in the house, but I always wore my mask, and I still got it. I did everything that I was supposed to do. I washed my hands, and I still got it. So I think that the main lesson for me with COVID is taking care of myself. It's definitely been a journey with COVID. A lot of people passed away. But it didn't take from me what it took from other people
Yeah.
it really helped me to gain more life. It frustrated me a lot because there was a lot of restrictions, but I still was able to do everything that I needed to do, even with the restrictions. And no one that I interacted with encountered COVID from those interactions. So, yeah.
What are some ways that some habits that you started taking care of yourself? Like how?
Doing less for others and more for myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really it. Just taking the time for me.
Yeah. Seeing to your needs.
Yeah.
For sure. So you said you were in California at the time.
I was.
And then you moved here to North Carolina?
I did. I felt like this is where God was sending me.
Okay.
And so I packed up everything and I told my daughter we're going. And we ended up here. It wasn't, what is this? This is November.
Yeah.
So 10 months ago?
Wow.
Yeah. And so I came here and I started over here. Things didn't work out. I came here, I opened up a little salon suite. I started trying to do everything that I was doing in California, in Charlotte, and it just didn't work out the way that I thought it was gonna work out. And so I ran into trying to figure out what I was gonna do. Tapping all the resources in Charlotte, trying to find housing, running into problems where people were charging ridiculous amounts for rent, and then I would go and I would look at the properties. I'm grateful that I did not try to get a property before I came here, because that's what I was trying to do initially.
Okay.
But then I had someone that was here that I was able to stay with, so I didn't do that. I didn't go that route. But when I got here and I went to look at properties, the properties are not together, and then it was just ridiculous how they were doing people as far as rental properties. It was very difficult to find stuff. When you did find stuff, you're paying $50 to $90 for each application. Mm-hmm. And so it was just repetitive. And now it's time for me to transition from the space that I'm in, and I have nowhere to go. And so when I say I tapped every resource, I called every shelter. I reached out to 211. I reached out to everyone, and I'm somebody. I'll work. I'll do what I need to do.
Yeah.
And nothing was available to be an aid. And so someone from California asked me, "Have I heard of Gracious Hands?" And I kind of went off on them like, "Don't tell me about nothing else. I've tapped every resource in Charlotte." But in the middle of me saying that, I stopped and I started looking up Gracious Hands. And when I looked it up, I told the person I was on the phone with that I was going to call her back. So I called her back and I called Gracious Hands. And I started telling Miss Sonja what was going on. Mm-hmm. And then I just started weeping. And she was like, "Baby, just stop crying. Just stop crying. Hold on a minute." She's like, "I can't make you no promises. We got a waiting list." And so I still was crying, and I was just like, okay. So she directed me to come and see her. It's been my experience that when people tell me things, they don't follow through. Mm. So when I came, she wasn't here, but it was because she was sick, not because she was just, didn't want to show up. So she followed up with me. And because I was just like, I'm just done, but she followed up with me. She told me to come in again. I came in, we talked, and she gave me the space. This was 3 days before I had to be out of the other place. So it just worked out perfectly. Then as I transitioned into here, I was feeling some embarrassment at first because now I'm in a transitional home and I'm a mom and I'm not used to this. I'm usually taking care of myself. This is not who I am. Yeah. And then I had to get myself together because so what? I'm here. Yeah. But what I learned since I've been here is that I've connected with where I'm supposed to be. I actually drew a picture of a house before I even came to Charlotte. And who would have known that I would have went through everything that I went through in this city to get to this house that I drew in my book. And I had no clue it was this. I literally one day was going through the book when I came here, and I opened it up and I followed the driveway all the way up to the stairs. Like I literally drew this place out. So I'm supposed to be here. Wow. Not because, something, a lot of people look at being homeless as, you're not handling your business. You know, there's a lot of stigmas with homelessness. And that's not always the case.
Yeah.
And so I had to shake all that stuff off. Then I was beating myself up because I wasn't working. I was working for an organization. Right before I came here, my car was hit by a drunk driver, totaled out. Like everything you can think of happening was happening to make me just stop. People were offering me homes in different states, like offering me a whole house. Friends of mine. And I'm like, I'm not moving. This is where I believe I was supposed to be. If I go there, I'm starting over again, right? If I go back to California, I'm starting over again. No, I'm going to stay planted because it's something here for me. And since I've been in Gracious Hands, I've been afforded the opportunity to have a space where I can heal properly because I was determined within myself. So Gracious Hands only works if you're willing to work for yourself, right?
Yeah.
That means what Gracious Hands provides will only work if you're willing to do the work.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm in a space in my life where I'm like, I'm going to get the healing that I need. I'm going to do whatever it is that I got to do, and I'm not going to run from it. So I've stayed planted. I was frustrated because I didn't work for a while. And Miss Sonja's like, girl, you ain't been here that long. Just chill. Just rest. You know? And what I didn't realize is just like with COVID, for me, it was more so about resting and taking care of myself, right? So now I'm at a place where I can rest and take care of myself, and I'm still a busybody. So I'm learning how to do that now.
Yeah.
I'm learning how to choose me. I'm learning how not to take on other people's problems. Your issue is not my issue. I'm sorry that you're going through that, but this is about me right now. And so that's been the journey, and that's what I've been trying to teach my daughter.
Wow.
But teenage life is different. So, yeah.
How old is your daughter?
My daughter is 15. She'll be 16 in March.
Wow.
Yeah.
How do you feel her transition has been through this?
It has been difficult. She's used to being around family. I have a very large family. I have 7 siblings from my mother's children, and my mom has lots of grandchildren. And so she's used to being able to reach out at some capacity. She spent her entire life in California, so I pretty much pulled her from everything that she knew. But now she's a cheerleader, and that's what she loves to do is dance, and she's enjoying this cheer life and this whole, what do you call it? What they do with the band, the majorette stuff, and she's into all that stuff. So she's got her feel here, and she's made friends here, so she's doing better now. At first, I was the mom that she didn't like, and she blamed me for every little thing ruining her life, but she still does, but she's okay.
You know, it's that age. It's that age, I'm telling you. Dr. Chisholm, what has your experience been like in your personal life, balancing Gracious Hands and your own health and your family and your kids?
So with COVID for us, we loved it. I mean, we got to spend. We are a very tight knit family.
Yeah.
And where they were telling us not to be with each other, we refused to listen. So we had a lot of family dates. It was to the point where I think my daughter was off for a complete year.
Wow.
That they never should have did that. So we were planning family time. I got to spend a lot of time with my grandchildren. I got to spend a lot of time with my kids and still take care of the women and children of Gracious Hands. So it was like we were on vacation. You know, I believe that anything that happens bad, we're supposed to tap into what's good about it. Because as I said, you cannot live your life in fear, and you cannot live in the world of unknown. And at this point, no one knows what COVID is, where it came from, how to cure it. Everything is merely speculation.
Yeah.
I can't live like that. We refuse to do it. We didn't go around a whole lot of other people. However, we made sure that we took the time that we felt as though that God was giving us. I truly believe that COVID happened to slow us down, to do a reset.
Yeah.
The world was out of control. It's still out of control. Just my opinion. I think it's God's way of trying to get our attention, for us to pay attention to those things that are most important to us. and that is family, and it is love. I mean, it's nothing that we can do about it. We can only control the things that we can control, and COVID just so happens to not be one of those things. So what else do? You make something great out of something that, what they say, you take lemons and make lemonade. We made a lot of lemonade and some great memories. We really did. We really did.
I love that perspective.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Sunshine, tell me a little bit about your transition now. Do you feel like you're going to start opening up a company again for hair, or do you feel like you're just waiting?
I am waiting because I have something that is great. And this time I want it to do what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
I'm going to take my time and I'm going to do it when I need to do it. Not so much of off of impulse, because I'm a dreamer and I'm also a creative. And sometimes creatives do too much. We don't think we do too much, but sometimes we just need to pump our brakes just for a moment.
Yeah.
Some people thrive in chaos and doing things, last minute, big projects. That's me. I was that person. I was the person that can put together an event in like 2 seconds and get it done. But then, and I'm alive while I'm doing it, but when it's over, I'm half dead. I'm drained. It takes me 3 weeks to recover, maybe 3 months sometimes, right? And then you keep going like that and it wears and tears on your body. If I haven't learned anything since, I don't even want to just say COVID, but over the last several years of my life, period, that is to take care of myself. I keep coming back to that. I took care of elders here. Like, I was a companion to elders, and a lot of them were wealthier people, right? And they would tell me these stories about having lots of money, being able to travel, do everything they wanted to do, but what they were not ready for is for the health conditions. And so every last elder that I've spoken with, and there's been quite a few that I've had as clients since I've been here, their main thing to me, it was like they were giving me gifts of wisdom. And they were like, take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Take care of yourself. Don't overexert yourself. Don't overextend yourself. But culturally, and in some spiritual places, institutions, we are taught that we're supposed to live and do certain things and give of ourselves in a certain way. And although some of those things could be true, you have to be mindful of how you're putting yourself out there when you're exerting yourself, but you're not being refilled, right? So that was my thing. It was almost like I had a hole in my side, and God would fill me up with all these ideas, all these different things, and then I would be leaking out. And while I'm leaking out, everybody's grabbing my goods and what I have. They're taking it. But then now I'm empty and I have nothing, and I have none of those people that were grabbing my goods to help rebuild me. And so they used to say this thing in the Old Baptist Church, to give from the overflow. And I understand that now. Before, I was like, well, I have plenty, because I am love. God is love. But now I get the give from the overflow. Don't go beyond my means. So taking care of myself from California to here, that is literally the only thing. Continual healing. I've been through a lot of things, a lot. Domestic violence, you name it, I probably walked through it. And so because of that, I just been going, not taking the time to deal. In my mind, I'm dealing with those things, right? Because I'm not where I used to be. But now is the time. COVID allowed me the opportunity to sit with myself.
Yeah.
And I hope I answered your question, because
it's beautiful.
I can venture off.
What you answered was amazing. Thank you.
Yeah.
Ladies, I want to respect and honor your time. I'm just going to follow up with one last question is, do you have anything else that you want to share with us about your last 2 years, your experiences, anything you want to share?
I mean, life has just been great. I know we're in the middle of a pandemic. However, I've met some amazing people through this journey. People that I probably wouldn't have met. That's one of the things as well. As a Black female executive director of a nonprofit that helps Black and Brown, a lot of the monies wouldn't have come to me. COVID opened up those doors. And that's why I'm saying to you,
Wow.
COVID has been a blessing in a lot of ways to people.
Yeah.
Most of the people that are knocking on these doors right now wouldn't have knocked on my doors before COVID. And in all honesty, I had a predominantly white church to come in, and she said, I just want you to know that we're not picking you because you're Black. I could have jumped across the table on this lady, but I was in my right mind. I said, for you to say that to me, you already had bad intentions, ma'am. Otherwise, you wouldn't have spoken that to me. You know, COVID almost to me started, really woke up white America. How about I say that? The more privileged. How about I say, yeah. Well, I have a lot of money and I didn't know. How did you not know this before COVID hit? What it is that people had the opportune time to stay at home. They had the opportune time to start seeing things that normally you would see and hear, but you would see it in passing or you would hear about it. But no, we are at home. We have to deal with it. And I think it just started a surge, if that makes any sense. Yeah. We had more donations to come out in COVID than I've had in 7.5 years.
Wow.
No lie.
Wow.
And it spoke volumes to me. It really did. I was like, wow. But what I understand is God take what people look at bad and he makes it for good.
Yes, he does.
He makes it for good. And as long as you remember those things, the bad things don't matter. It's good and evil in everything. It's bad and good in everything. I choose to focus on the greater things. Yeah. You know, I could get consumed in, oh, it's COVID, we all gonna die. That's not the way that I live my life, and that's not the way that I think. They say they have a vaccine, I'm going to take it. Yeah. That's the only control that I have, right? That's the choice that I had. My choice was to take it. And then I said, hey, well, if we're going to do this thing, everyone that comes here has to be vaccinated as well. Because I have 9 grandchildren and a whole husband, as I call him, and 3 children that love me immensely. And I dare not sacrifice myself for the greater of others while not taking care of myself for the greater of my own, if that makes sense. Yeah. But I really learned a lot. It's a lot that I learned in COVID. Oh my God, the meanness that we've endured in the last couple of years. Like, that's why I say the world would never be the way that it was. We could never go back there. Yeah. This was God's way of changing the trajectory of how we all are going to live. And you know what? And as to how we're going to start treating people. It's going to change. And I don't know if people know it now, but it's already changing. And those that can't get with it going to be left behind. Because the crazy that we've been living, it won't be anymore. Mm-hmm. Y'all can write that down, 11/1/2022. Yes. Remember, Dr. Chisholm told you that.
You will.
It will not be, and it will be greater. Mm-hmm. You know, it will be greater. Love is all that we have. Love is love, and love is all we need. Mm-hmm. And as long as we stand on that, regardless of who we are, I don't care how you categorize yourself, male, female, she, whatever. Yeah. Love will be the only thing that will see us through this. And as long as we stand on that, we're going to be amazing as we were before COVID. I'm super, super excited because I believe I'm going to be here till I'm about 90. I'm going to get to see it. I'm going to get to see it. It's the younger generation that's going to do it. I love it, love it, love it, love it. Their mindset, the way that they think, you know, it's nothing crazy about the way that they think. We just got to get on board a little bit. That's all.
I love it. Oh, such amazing truth spoken, Dr. Chisholm. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sunshine, would you like to say anything?
If I can say anything as my last statement to the world, whoever's going to watch this, I would say pay attention to what's going on around you and not to be so disconnected that you only allow things to affect you when it's in your face. Life is happening, and we as the human race, we as Americans, right? We are so disconnected from what it even means to have life, what it means to be human beings, the way that we treat each other, the way that we handle each other. If we continue to handle each other this way, we won't be here. That's definite. We won't be here. Because just like your life matters, my life matters, and the next person's. And we're all connected in one way. I don't care what color you are, or since we use colors, I don't care about any of that. We all bleed the same color blood. We all feel the same type of pain, regardless of where the pain is coming from. And so I just would like for people to be mindful of that. Be mindful of how you handle other people. And that's all. And love people, even when you don't like them, because you don't always have to like them to love them. So
True that.
that's it.
Thanks, Sunshine.
Signing out, Sunshine.
Ladies, thank you so much. This
Thank
has
you.
been such a pleasure, and honestly, I'm honored just to sit here with both of you.
Thank
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.